Hi, ever wonder what it's like to work another profession or live in the underworld? Listen to unsuspecting riders give a 10 to 15 minute personal masterclass as I spontaneously interview them as they enter my taxi. I'm your host, Simon Rushton, and this is Taxi Chronicles. Morning. Yes, we're back with another rider, another story. Today we have Ben. He's in the music industry, for all of those people, listeners who are interested in music, and he's special. Well, you know what? As usual, I'm going to let him introduce what he does and how he does it, because I will probably mess it up. But anyway, enough babbling from me. Over to Ben. Ben, nice to have you here today.
Good morning. How are you doing?
So tell us what is it you do?
So I'm a musician for most of the time. I was a bit more before the pandemic started, obviously.
What are your main instruments?
So I'm a bass player. I played double bass and electric bass, but I started on guitar when I was pretty little, you know.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So tell us what got you into it and what motivates you.
Okay. I don't know. I've just always loved music, like since I was really young. My dad is a musician, so that kind of got me started. And then I spent a while I was younger kind of trying to work out what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a chef for a bit. I thought I wanted to be a paramedic for a bit, and it never came to anything. But I was just kind of like wondering what to do with my life after school. I had no idea. And then my mum pointed out that I've always played music and I've always loved it, so I thought I'd have a crack at that. And then I went to music college in Wales, at kind of uni time,
Well, did you say you did a degree?
Yeah, it's so silly, I've got a degree in jazz bass.
Okay. It doesn't. You know why it doesn't sound silly to me?
No.
I've met somebody I've interviewed people who've done a degree in woven.
Yeah.
A degree in textiles.
Yeah.
And a degree doing a guitar.
Yeah.
So you telling me about jazz playing is probably actually one up from the guitar and the woven. Okay, so tell us, how do you feel when you're playing the guitar?
I mean, that's like the happiest place to be, It's I don't know, it's quite a mindful thing, I suppose, because when you're doing that, you can't really think about anything else that's going on in life. If you've got all this chatter going on, you play and it's just you're so focused on the sounds you're hearing and the sounds you're putting out. That's all that matters in that moment, and that's a really cool thing, I think.
Okay, so it's a godlike feeling.
When it goes well, sometimes it's quite horrible, but
all right, so tell us about when and why is it horrible?
I mean, there are certain scenarios, where you might be in a performing situation, you don't really know the songs well enough, or something can be going wrong. Sometimes you're just not feeling it as well. It's the thing with working in music is that it's such a personal thing. It's not like some other jobs maybe where you might turn up, clock in, and then you're doing it for the time you're there, and then you clock off and go. It's like, how good I am at the music is such a part of my identity,
So you've got to always bring your A game.
Yeah, totally. And then when you can't, because obviously, everyone has ups and downs in their days, when you can't, it feels like it's a really personal thing, it's quite all-encompassing.
You spoke about performing.
Yeah.
And you said you may not know that song that well. Don't you get enough time to rehearse or study the song?
I mean, normally you do, and it's about how smart you are. But with life, sometimes you'll have. So last year, I had this one gig. A friend of mine said, "There's this band. They've got a gig in Paris tomorrow night, and their bass player had norovirus, so he had to drop out. So I went down to Brixton." About 9 p.m. that night, and I was listening to their album on my headphones, and we just stayed up all night trying to learn these songs, and then we got in a van, went to Paris, and I was just trying to work it all out. And then you get on stage, sometimes you just have a very short notice to get these things together,
Mm-hmm. Can that be defeated? I mean, can you be a musician, can somebody be a musician that they can kind of adapt to anything?
Yeah, I think to an extent, and that's a lot of what being a musician is, I think, is like kind of working on skills that help you just like get things quickly and adapt to different things. But you know, like you listen to some music or read a book or something, sometimes it will just connect with you more. Like you'll just understand it more easily because it speaks to you. Like that's true in playing music too.
Okay. You spoke about jazz.
Yeah.
I suppose before we get into that jazz, what the degree was like, because I do like jazz. Jazz is a lot about what you just described.
Yeah.
Where you're just musicians come together and they play whatever.
Yeah.
And then I know from the blues times that a man will be playing his guitar, another man will play the drums, and they just start messing around and see how things flow, and out of that becomes a song.
Yeah.
In that respect, and I believe the Motown industry, they did that a lot when they formulated music. Did a degree help you with those skills?
That's a hard question. Yeah, I think so, to be honest. Like the whole, it's a funny thing. Have you seen the Spinal Tap film?
No.
Oh, okay. There's basically a joke in it about how, like, you know, you can get taught jazz. It's like being taught to play the wrong notes. You know, because there's no right way to do it. But then but then there like totally is within that, and which makes the whole kind of premise of like a jazz education quite funny, because it's all kind of teaching you all these things to allow you to not have to think about those things.
Okay, so it's teaching you a formula that's telling you don't use the formula, just be free.
Yeah, exactly.
The formula is ideal to be free, but it's ironic.
Yeah, it is funny. Like there are no wrong notes, but don't play that.
yeah. I see what you say. Freedom of speech. Be careful what you say.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. Yeah. That seems to be my understanding of jazz anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the actual degree like? What was the shock? Was there a shock to the system? Was there anything that you really took away from it?
I mean, yeah, I was quite new to jazz when I started that. Like, like I say, it was at this point in my life when I really didn't know what I was doing. Like, I liked some jazz and I knew I liked jazz, but I wasn't like deep into it. So when I started, a lot of my peers like had kind of come from more of a background where they'd really understood it and been involved in it for quite a long time. So I guess it was a shock in that I was totally out of my depth, but also that was really great because I was just surrounded by like all of these brilliant people who were all excellent musicians and knew what to do on. So I think that was probably quite good for me. And I was just also shocked with like how much you have to put in your own work. Like I always thought doing a degree would be, you know, you've just got like all these assignments and you've got work to do every day, but because so much of being a musician is just like practice and your own development, like we had so much time to work on ourselves, it's quite hard to work out what to do with that at first.
When you say work on yourselves, was there like a spiritual side to it as well? Or was it just instrumental?
I mean, no, that is definitely a strong thing that like me and a lot of my friends did end up dealing with. You know, it wasn't like part of the syllabus, but I think it goes hand in hand. Like a lot of improvisation is quite meditative in a way, and it's sort of, I think the kind of people that gravitate towards playing improvised music are also quite interested in the spiritual side of things.
Yeah, because I don't think there's a belief system on earth that doesn't recognise music as some spirit system in that sense.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, okay. There's a lot of influencers and people out there now who say there's no need for degrees anymore.
Yeah.
Or degrees need to be more practical if they're needed at all. So you're learning hands-on. Yeah. Would you say your degree was like that? You was learning hands-on? Would you say from the start to the finish, you could see there's a massive development?
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, I mean, in me and in the people around me, like there was a development in, you know, our actual physical skill at playing. But also just, I think it's funny kind of having a degree. Like the degree itself is sort of not really worth anything. You know, if I turn up to the Vortex or whatever and I say like, guys, I've got a degree in jazz, do you want to get me in your band? They'll be like, I don't care. how do you play? You know?
Yeah, they want to hear you. The
Yeah.
proof is in the pudding. Yeah?
Exactly. So I mean, the valuable thing in the degree for me was that it was 4 years to like practice and play with people and like, you know, do nothing else basically.
And it's just structured 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. But like that's the value of it. It's just the time and being around so many other creative people that all kind of share the same goal as me.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So about your instrument.
Yeah.
Instruments are guitar.
Double bass.
Double bass. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Do you want to explain?
It's like
that? It's electric, yeah.
no, it's acoustic. So you know, like violin.
Yeah.
There's the violin, and then you've got the cello, which is like the vertical one.
Yep. Yeah. One under the chin and one that stands up.
Yeah. So the cello is the one that stands up, and then double bass is like a big one of those. It's the, you know, the classic one you stand up with your arm.
Wait. Oh, I thought it was like a guitar, electric guitar,
No,
like a heavy metal. Yeah, and a smashing.
No. You say, you know, kaboom, boom, boom, kaboom, boom. That one.
Okay, so I'll have to look that up. That will be the wallpaper for this episode.
Yeah. Well, you know, I
Okay.
normally get the classic heckle, which I think every bass player gets. Is like, that's a big guitar when you're walking on the street, 'cause it's got like a backpack strap, but it's huge.
Okay.
It's bigger than me, so you can only see like that with some legs sticking out the bottom.
Okay. Do you just have one?
Yeah, I've only got one.
And are they quite expensive then?
Yeah, that's why I've only got one.
Okay. And well, how much do they start at?
I mean, mine's quite a cheap one actually. But even that was, I mean, it was close to $4,000. Like,
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I know. Yeah, man. It's
What the hell?
that's the really hard part. So I was.
How long does it take to make one? Do you know?
I've got no idea, but
You want
like,
to
probably.
find that out and go to the supplier.
Probably
then,
a long
to the
time.
manufacturer. I mean,
Yeah, right. Well, it's funny as well because a lot of them are all quite old. Like mine's about 150 years old, which is not that old for double basses. Like
Now I can see why it's $4,000.
this is the thing.
150 years old. There's still horse and carriages on the street.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And like that's not an old
You
one.
must look after. That case must be lined velvet and.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I've got to say that case makes an excellent bed as well.
Oh, is it that big? You can get in it.
Yeah. It's bigger.
Okay.
It's bigger than me for sure.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, don't
Okay. $4,000.
Yeah, man.
It starts. What's the most expensive one you've heard of?
The most expensive one I played was about 60. It was when I was going to buy them. I was going to all these shops, and it's like very important.
60 grand.
Man, it's insane.
That's a mortgage. That's a starting of a mortgage.
I know. Like I was blown away when, like, because I just was going to these shops and they'd be full of basses.
That must have been around since Napoleon.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Some of them are incredibly old, but I went to these shops when I was looking for one to buy, and there'd be 50 in the room, and they'd say, "So what's your kind of maximum budget?" And I'd say, "No more than $4,000," and they'd be like, "Okay, you can afford these two."
Okay.
But they'd always like let you try them all just to like get an idea of what you like.
So when you get good, you can come back. You know you can understand.
Maybe, but I've got to say, like I know mine so well now. Like I really love it.
So see, that's what I'm talking about, spiritual.
Yeah.
Because there's a connection.
Yeah.
So you don't really need to move on. You just need to. It's like you fall in love and you start to understand.
Yeah.
I'm not sure him or her, whatever you call him.
I haven't done that. A lot of people do. A lot of people name them, and but it's just my bass, you know.
It's just my mates, my bass.
I love it because it's it's just like a chunk of wood with some metal strings strung across it, and it like means so much.
Yeah, well, it's probably quite decorative, though.
It is. It's very pretty. It looks. Looks good in a room for sure.
That's interesting. Okay, so what motivates you?
Oh gosh, I mean, just to. I've done some. I mean, I just want to survive doing something that I like. Is my kind of bare minimum. Like, it motivates me to have the chance of. It's hard at the moment because obviously, like, live music has pretty much died at the moment. So that's been really tough for everybody in the industry. And I've been quite lucky to have like other skills and things. I've been working as a baker and things like that, which is great, but it's not what I love, you know. It's just not, and I think life's a bit too short to spend doing something that I don't really love doing, you know.
Have you ever played in any orchestras or anything? It sounds like that's something that piece of equipment would be.
It is typically in orchestras. I haven't actually played in any orchestras myself. I've played in like big bands, which is like the jazz version.
Okay.
Like all that kind of Count Basie, Duke Ellington stuff.
Well, I interviewed the conductor for the London Philharmonic
Oh, really?
Orchestra.
Oh,
And he's
sick.
also the conductor for the Italian one.
Yeah.
It's about a 40-minute interview. I
Yeah.
can't remember the number,
Yeah.
but you can check it out on the episode.
Yeah, I will.
He didn't leave his details
Uh-huh.
with me for you to cut, but if you could, if you find out who he was
Yeah.
on social media or whatever, and then just reach out, say you listen to his interview in a taxi. So
Yeah.
he goes deep. He talks about how he's from when he's born and how the development of music
Yeah.
was embedded in him, and
Uh-huh.
he lived in various different countries.
Sure.
And, it was very, very interesting interview, and for someone who's not really into music,
Yeah.
I was fascinated.
Yeah, sure.
On that scale of things, so it's something you can listen out to. There's a couple of other people I've interviewed regarding a guy who talks about live bands.
Yeah.
And he talks about how London used to be the haven for live music.
Sure. Yeah.
And then the council shut everything down to noise pollution.
Yeah.
So they've really hurt our reputation internationally.
I was talking about that, with my girlfriend over breakfast actually today, because we both met in Cardiff, which is where we were studying, and they've got a real issue with this. Like, venues are just shutting all the time because of noise complaints.
You need to write a petition.
There's been so much work. There's this great organisation in Cardiff.
What you want, what the council need to do, is have various areas where noise pollution at night is just a given.
Yeah.
If you live within this distance, you cannot complain about noise pollution.
Yeah, exactly.
At night. So that's where all your bands, all your nightclubs, everything is.
Yeah.
If you live within there, we only suggest young people live there.
Yeah.
Because when you get old, you have to find somewhere else to live.
Yeah.
Because it's a big market. It's like that's Beatles from the Beatles time.
That's the thing. It's such an important part of our culture, you know.
Yeah, they're destroying us.
Yeah.
All them. Yeah. Oh, I say us
all,
like I'm involved in the music
No,
industry.
you are. But that's the thing. We all are.
I would go to live bands. I'd say that, but I didn't really. It's not anything I thought about. I've always been a cinema person, but
that's cool.
Now I speak to more and more people. Through the interviews, you think, I should try that. I should try this.
Yeah.
And all these different kind of things in that respect. Yeah. So, what have you learnt that you wish you knew when you had started?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I guess I wish I'd known to throw myself in a little bit more initially. Like now, if somebody will ask me to go on a project or try something I'm not that comfortable with, I'll just like have a go. Which is something I was very nervous before. Like I hadn't really grown up playing with people. Like there weren't many musicians where I grew up. So I was very shy to do anything, to put myself out there, and I wouldn't go and play something unless I was like 1,000%. I'd practiced it in every which way, and I'd kind of practice for every eventuality. And that's quite limiting, I think. I wish I'd known that then. But you've just got to be confident and have a go, and it'll probably be fine.
For someone who wants to who wants to follow your path, or the path of being, what would be your advice to them?
To just go for it, to make some sacrifices to your, immediate comforts, and have a crack at it, and just keep going as well. Like put your own stuff out there. Just try and befriend everyone you can.
So make sure you're on social media, in other words.
Make sure you're on social media. Make sure if you work somewhere, like I'm going to this session today now because I worked in a cafe and I found out the guy I was working with was a musician, and then I was like, let's just like have a play together sometime, And now it's turned out like I'm playing with him. I'm on his new album, and it's like it's gone from there. But you've just got to make those first steps, and that's quite scary at first.
It's change. Change is scary.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I've realised that you're hesitant. Sometimes you're in denial, but you're hesitant for a reason, because of it's a change and you're going out your comfort zone. But you need to make that move.
Yeah, for sure.
On things like that. So something I've been dealing with
Yeah.
lately,
Okay.
to be honest. Yeah. But okay. What's the impact you want to have on the world?
Just to bring some joy to it, and there's just so much. It's so easy to feel like you read the news. There's so much darkness in the world, right? I think it's just important to bring something good.
Okay. That's good.
That's I'm not under any illusions that I'm gonna like end any of the massive issues in the world by playing music, but can definitely make some people happier. And
for the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And like if you're playing a gig and I'm playing a bass line and people are dancing to that, like that's a really precious moment right then that I think is really important, just to share those little bits of joy and like really enjoy them.
Well, thanks a lot for that. It's been a great interview.
Thank you so much.
And we wish you well.
Cheers.
We hope you liked that interview. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to get the latest daily episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economy and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources? Then listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you will hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m.